I was standing in front of the ethics committee, watching the woman I loved about to lose the career she'd spent 20 years building. And all I could think was that I should have kissed her harder that first time. Dr. Chen. The committee chair's voice cut through my thoughts. Do you understand the severity of this situation? Dr. Cross held a position of power over your career advancement. This relationship represents a clear violation of university policy. I looked at Vivian. She sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table, face carefully blank. But I could see the tremor in her jaw, could see the way her knuckles had gone white. I understand, I said. But, with respect, you're wrong about the power dynamic. The chair's eyebrow rose. Excuse me? She didn't pursue me. I pursued her. For 4 months, I engineered situations to be alone with her. I stayed late in the lab. I asked questions I already knew the answers to. I made the first move. I met Vivian's eyes across the table. And I'd do it again. Dr. Chen, you want to know if she abused her power? She tried to push me away. She told me it was inappropriate. She gave me every chance to walk away. I leaned forward. The only thing Dr. Cross is guilty of is finally letting herself be happy. And if you destroy her career for that, you're not protecting anyone. You're just punishing her for being human. The room went silent. Vivian was staring at me with tears streaming down her face. And I knew even if we lost everything, even if they fired us both, it was worth it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how we got here. 4 months earlier. The first time I saw Dr. Vivian Cross, she was demolishing a colleague's research methodology in front of 200 people. I was 32, junior researcher fresh off a Nature publication, sitting in the third row nursing cold coffee and trying not to let anyone see how terrified I was. Dr. Vivian Cross, 47 years old, director of the Neural Plasticity Lab at MIT, over 100 papers published. Rejected twice for a Nobel Prize, but everyone said it was only a matter of time. And she was currently eviscerating Dr. Morrison's sample size with the precision of a surgeon. The problem isn't the data visualization, she said, adjusting her glasses. It's that you're asking us to accept correlation as causation when you haven't controlled for confounding variables. Someone gasped. Dr. Morrison went red, and I fell a little bit in love right there. After her keynote, I found her on the hotel terrace at midnight, cigarette in hand. Dr. Cross, I'm Adrian Chen. I cited your 2019 paper in my dissertation. She studied me with dark eyes that looked like they'd seen too many failed experiments. That paper was flawed. I've been trying to retract it for 2 years. It was revolutionary. It was incomplete. There's a difference. She took a drag. You're the Chen who published on synaptic pruning last month. My pulse jumped. You read it? I read everything. It's a curse. She stubbed out the cigarette. You're wrong about the pruning timeline. Your model assumes linear progression when the mechanism is cyclical. I grinned. Prove it. Something flickered in her eyes. Buy me a drink, and I'll show you the data. We ended up at a bar 3 blocks away, covering napkins with diagrams, arguing about dendritic spines until the bartender kicked us out at 2 a.m. You're insufferable, she said on the sidewalk. You're brilliant. Those aren't mutually exclusive. She smiled small, genuine, vulnerable. I have a lab at MIT. We're looking for a postdoc. Interested? Are you offering because I'm good or because you want to keep arguing with me? Both. She pulled out her phone. Send me your CV. Don't let it go to your head. I moved to Boston 3 weeks later. 3 months earlier, working in Vivian's lab was like being thrown into a tornado made of ambition and brilliance. She ran meetings like military briefings. She'd dismantle your methodology, then stay until midnight helping you rebuild it. She drank black coffee by the liter, chewed pen caps when she was thinking, lit lavender candles when she got migraines, and I started engineering reasons to be near her, staying late to finish calibrations, asking questions I already knew the answers to, bringing her coffee exactly how she liked it, black, too hot, bitter. Chen, my office. Friday evening, 3 weeks into my postdoc. My heart rate spiked. Her office smelled like coffee and lavender and old books, papers everywhere. A half-eaten sandwich from 2 days ago sat on a journal. Your pruning study results? They're good. This could be a science paper. Thank you? That wasn't a compliment. It means you're spending the next 6 months redoing everything. She looked up, exhaustion carved into her face. How do you feel about 80-hour weeks? How do you feel about eating that sandwich instead of using it as a paperweight? She blinked. Excuse me? You've been here since 6 a.m. You skipped lunch. You're getting a migraine. That's why you lit the candle. You're about to ask me to sacrifice my life when you're already sacrificing yours. Something flickered, surprise, defensive anger, but underneath, relief. Are you psychoanalyzing me, Chen? I'm observing you. You taught me that. You didn't, actually, she stared, then laughed short, surprised. You're right. I should eat. There's a ramen place 2 blocks over. You buying? You're my boss. Shouldn't you be buying? I'm also 15 years older and significantly more accomplished. Respect your elders, Chen. The ramen place was tiny, cramped. We sat in a corner booth, knees almost touching. Tell me something, she said, stirring without eating. Why neuroscience? I watched my grandmother lose herself to Alzheimer's when I was 16. I thought if I could understand how the brain breaks, maybe I could help fix it. Her expression softened. Did it work? No. She died when I was in grad school. I took a breath, but I published a paper on memory consolidation 6 months later, used some of her cognitive decline data. It got cited 40 times. I remember that paper. The pruning model was elegant. It was incomplete, like your dopamine paper. So, we're both chasing ghosts? Or building something that matters? She looked at me, really looked. Can I tell you something? Always. I have a daughter, Maya, 22, environmental law at UCLA. She hasn't returned my calls in 3 weeks. I missed her graduation for a grant deadline. Told myself the research was important. Did she understand? No. And she was right not to. She finally ate. The thing about being a woman in academia, Adrian, is that every choice is a loss. Career or family, there's no winning. That's bleak. That's realistic. She met my eyes. You're young. You still think you can have everything. I'm here to tell you, you can't. What if I don't want to choose? What if I want both? Then you're braver than I was. She signaled for the check. Or more foolish. We walked back in silence. At the lab entrance, she paused. Thank you for noticing that I needed to eat. Most people aren't paying attention. She turned, and suddenly we were very close. Close enough to see gold flecks in her brown eyes, silver threads in her hair catching streetlight. Be careful, Adrian. Paying attention to me is dangerous. Why? Because I'm a mess. Divorced, workaholic, terrible at relationships, terrible at being a mother, and I'm your boss. This conversation is completely inappropriate. We're just talking. We're not just anything. She stepped back. Go home, Chen. Monday morning, we rebuild your design from scratch. She disappeared into the building. I stood there for 5 minutes, her perfume lingering in the cold air, knowing I was in serious trouble, because I didn't want to stop paying attention 2 months earlier. After that night, everything changed and nothing changed. Vivian started assigning me to lead meetings. We'd argue with intensity that made other postdocs uncomfortable. She'd lean over my shoulder to point at data, her breath warm against my ear, and I'd forget what I was saying. Focus, Chen, she'd murmur. Your frontal cortex is offline. Maybe you're standing too close. Maybe you're easily distracted. But she'd step back, and I'd catch the flush on her cheeks that meant she felt it too. The lab started feeling smaller. Every accidental touch, her hand brushing mine, our shoulders bumping, felt electric. One night, 2 weeks before the science deadline, we were alone at midnight reviewing figures. This graph is wrong, she said. squinting at my screen. We sat side by side, close enough that I could smell coffee and her perfume. It's not wrong. You're just used to logarithmic scales. Don't tell me what I'm used to. Chen, then maybe you're out of practice. She turned to glare, and suddenly we were too close. I could see exhaustion in the lines around her eyes. Could see her pulse jumping at the base of her throat. Could smell lavender and bergamot. Adrian, she said quietly, and hearing my first name felt like a confession. We should talk about this. About what? About the fact that you're looking at me like. She stopped, swallowed. Like, I'm not your advisor. How am I looking at you? Like, you want to kiss me, which is inappropriate. You're right. I didn't move. So why haven't you stepped back? Because I'm trying to decide if I'm about to make a terrible decision. And she reached up with one shaking hand, traced my jaw with her fingertips. Feather-light, tentative. I'm about to make a terrible decision, she whispered. I gave her 3 seconds to change her mind. She didn't move. I closed the distance and kissed her. She made a small sound, surprise or surrender. Her hands fisted in my shirt, and she kissed me back like she'd been holding this in for months. I cupped her face, felt her pulse racing, felt the tremor running through her. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. That was a mistake, she whispered. Was it? Yes. I'm your advisor. This is a power dynamic nightmare, Vivian, and you're 15 years younger, Adrian. You should be with someone your age, not some divorced workaholic who can't even get her daughter to return calls. I kissed her again, slower, trying to show her I didn't care about appropriate or professional or any of the walls we'd built. When I pulled back, her eyes were wet. What if I'm just too much for you? She said, voice breaking. Too old, too complicated, too damaged, too intense. What if you wake up in 6 months and realize you made a mistake? I cupped her face. What if you're exactly enough? What if I don't want someone simple? What if I want you, Vivian, with all your complications and brilliance and terrible coffee addiction and the way you chew pen caps when you're thinking? She laughed, shaky. You notice that? I notice everything about you. That's the problem. She searched my eyes. Then, we can't do this here. If anyone finds out, your place or mine? Mine is closer. She grabbed my wrist. But Adrian, if we do this, we can't go back. We'll have to hide it. And if it falls apart, it will destroy both our careers. Are you sure? I should have said no. Instead, are you? She was quiet for 3 heartbeats. Let's go, before I change my mind. 1 month earlier, we took separate cars. I followed her taillights through Cambridge, hands shaking, knowing I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. Her apartment was exactly what I expected, bookshelves covering walls, papers everywhere, photos of Maya on the refrigerator. I haven't done this in a long time, she admitted, pouring wine with trembling hands. The whole being with someone thing? How long? 4 years? Since the divorce. She took a sip. My ex said I was married to my work, that I didn't have room for anything else. He was right. What if he was wrong? What if you just hadn't met someone who understood that your work isn't separate from who you are? She set down her glass. You're very young to be this wise. You're very brilliant to be this insecure. Adrian, I crossed the room, took the wine from her hand. Stop overthinking. Stop listing reasons it won't work. Just be here, with me. She looked up, and I'd never seen her this vulnerable. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. But you're doing it anyway? Because you're worth being scared for. She kissed me then, and this time there was no hesitation. We made it as far as the couch. Her skin tasted like salt and lavender. She said my name like it was precious. And when she fell apart in my arms, she looked at me with wonder. Afterward, tangled under a blanket, she traced patterns on my chest. This changes everything, she whispered. I know. We'll have to be so careful. I know. She lifted her head. And if anyone finds out, they won't blame you. They'll blame me, the older woman in power. It doesn't matter that you pursued me. They'll destroy my career. Then we don't get caught. For how long? 6 months? A year? Forever? Her voice cracked. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to mess this up. Then, we'll mess it up together. I tilted her chin up, but I'd rather try and fail with you than play it safe with anyone else. She buried her face against my neck. What if I'm not enough? You're exactly enough. You just don't believe it yet. She kissed me, soft and slow. Stay tonight? I'm not going anywhere. But even as I said it, I felt the weight of what we were risking. And the terrifying part? I didn't care. 3 weeks earlier, we managed to keep it secret for 3 months. 3 months of stolen moments. 3 months of arriving separately, leaving at different times, carefully maintaining professional distance while texting things that would make us both blush. 3 months of living a double life. The lab felt different now. Smaller. The air thick with everything we couldn't say, couldn't show. Every accidental brush of hands felt like touching a live wire. Dr. Cross, what do you think about the temporal resolution? I'd watch her mouth move, watch her hands gesture, and all I could think about was how those hands had felt on my skin 3 hours ago. Chen, are you listening? Sorry. Yes. Temporal resolution. The other postdocs started giving me weird looks. One night, we were in her office reviewing grants when her door opened without warning. I was leaning over her shoulder, our faces inches apart, my hand millimeters from hers. Doctor, Sarah Kim stood in the doorway. Her eyes flicked between us, lingering on how close we were. On the flush in Vivian's cheeks. Sorry, Sarah said slowly. Didn't realize you were. Busy. Vivian stepped back smoothly. Just reviewing Chen's grant revisions. What do you need? The IRB paperwork. But it can wait. Sarah's eyes were suspicious. I'll come back Monday. The door clicked shut. Vivian's hands were shaking. That was too close. She didn't see anything. She saw enough. Vivian pressed her palms on the desk, head bowed. Adrian, we can't keep doing this. Someone is going to figure it out. So what do? Stop? Maybe we should. The words hit like a punch. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean. She turned, fear in her eyes. I don't know how to do this. How to be with you and keep my career. I'm 47 years old. I should know how to make better decisions. Loving me isn't a bad decision, isn't it? We're lying to everyone, sneaking around. If they find out, I lose my lab, my reputation, everything I spent 20 years building. And you, her voice cracked, you'll lose your postdoc, your recommendations, your future, all because I couldn't keep my hands to myself. Stop. I pulled her into my arms. Stop making this your fault. I chose this. I'm still choosing this. She clung to me, shaking. What if we're not careful enough? Then we deal with it. Together. You keep saying that, like it's simple. It is simple. I love you. Do you love me? She pulled back, tears streaming. Yes. God. Yes. So much it terrifies me. Then, that's all that matters. It's not, though, is it? She pressed her forehead to my chest. Love doesn't pay bills when we're both unemployed. No, but it makes the risk worth it. She kissed me then, desperate and salt-sweet, and I tasted her fear and love and terrible, beautiful courage all mixed together. Stay careful, she whispered. Please, I promise. But promises were easier to make than to keep. 1 week earlier. The department holiday party was the kind of academic social event I usually avoided, but Vivian had to go. Department chair obligations, and I'd volunteered to attend as lab support. What I didn't expect was for him to walk in. Dr. Richard Cross, Vivian's ex-husband, head of surgery at Mass General. Tall, silver-haired, confident. He had a blonde woman on his arm who looked about my age, probably a resident, probably the newest replacement. I watched Vivian see him, watched her face go blank, watched her hands tighten around her wine glass. He made his way through the crowd like a shark, everyone parting, everyone wanting his attention, and then he was in front of Vivian. "Viv," he said, loud enough for people nearby to turn. "Looking tired. Still killing yourself for tenure? Oh, wait, you already have tenure. So what's the excuse now?" "Richard," her voice was ice. "I didn't know you'd be here. Head of surgery. They invited me to speak about work-life balance." He smirked. "Ironic, considering you never learned that particular skill. I learned it. Just not from you. Still bitter about the divorce? It's been 8 years, Viv. Time to move on. Find someone new. Though I suppose at your age, the pool is getting pretty shallow." I saw red. Felt my jaw clench. Felt something primal and protective rise up in my chest, but I forced myself to wait, to observe, because Vivian had taught me science is observation without reaction. Richard wasn't done. He turned to his blonde companion. "You know, Viv used to be brilliant, used to be someone. Now she's just," he gestured vaguely, "going through the motions, pushing papers, living for committee meetings. It's sad, really." The blonde woman looked uncomfortable. Vivian stood perfectly still, face blank, but I could see the tremor in her hands, could see the way her breath had gone shallow, and that was it. That was the moment I stopped thinking and started moving. I was across the room in 3 strides, positioning myself between Richard and Vivian. Doctor Cross," I said, deliberately using her title instead of his. "I think we need to leave." Richard's eyes narrowed, taking me in. "And you are?" "Dr. Adrian Chen. I work in Dr. Cross's lab." "Work for her, you mean?" His smile turned sharp. "Tell me, Dr. Chen, does working under Vivian require a lot of overtime? Late nights? Close collaboration?" The conversations around us died. People turned to look. I felt Vivian's hand find mine behind her back. Squeeze once. A warning or a plea? "Actually," Richard continued, voice getting louder, drawing more attention, "this is fascinating. How long has this been going on, Viv? Is this why you've been so cheerful lately? Trading in for a younger model? I suppose turnabout is fair play." "Richard, that's enough," Vivian started. "No, I'm genuinely curious. Does the university know you're sleeping with your postdoc? Because I'm pretty sure there are policies about that. Ethical concerns? Power dynamics." He looked at me with mock sympathy. "Poor kid. You probably think this is real, that she actually cares about you. But trust me, she's married to her work. You're just a convenient distraction." Something inside me snapped. "You're wrong," I said. My voice shook, but I didn't care anymore. "You're wrong about everything." I turned to face the room, all the colleagues and faculty watching with wide eyes. "Yes," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I'm in love with Dr. Cross. Yes, I pursued her. And yes, I know about the power dynamics and the policies and all the reasons this is complicated." I looked back at Vivian. Her eyes were wide, wet with tears, terrified. "But I also know," I continued, voice steadier now, "that she tried to push me away, that she warned me, that she gave me every chance to walk away. And I chose this anyway." I stepped closer to her, took her hand in mine where everyone could see. "I chose you," I said to her, quieter. "I'm choosing you. Right now, in front of everyone." "Adrian," she whispered. "Viv," I said, loud enough for people nearby to turn, loud enough for Richard to hear every word. This man spent 15 years married to the most brilliant woman I've ever met, and he was so blind, so threatened by her success, so terrified of her intelligence that he walked away. That's not strength. That's cowardice. Richard's face went red. You have no idea. I have every idea. I turned to face him directly. I know she works 80-hour weeks. I know she forgets to eat. I know she's so dedicated to her research that she'll sacrifice everything, including her relationship with her daughter for a grant deadline. And you know what? I don't care. Because I'm the man who brings her food when she forgets to eat. I'm the man who argues with her about methodology at 2 in the morning and loves every second of it. I'm the man who knows exactly what she's worth. I felt Vivian's hand tighten in mine. So yes, I said, addressing the whole room now. We're together. Yes. It's complicated. Yes. There will be consequences. But I'd rather face those consequences with her than spend another day pretending that loving her is something to be ashamed of. The room was silent. Richard opened his mouth, closed it, turned red. We should go, I said to Vivian. She stared at me for 3 long heartbeats. Everyone was watching. Phones were coming out. This would be all over the department by morning. And then she took both my hands in hers. You're insane, she whispered. Do you understand what you just did? I told the truth. Everyone knows now. Everyone. By Monday morning, there will be complaints. Investigations. They'll destroy both of us. I know. Then why? Because I'm done hiding, done pretending that loving you is something to be ashamed of. I cupped her face. Let them investigate. Let them judge. I don't care anymore. I only care about you. She kissed me there in the middle of the party, in front of everyone, and I could taste her tears and her fear and her love all mixed together. What happens now? She whispered. Now we face it. Together. Richard made a disgusted sound and left with his blonde companion. We walked out hand in hand, ignoring the explosion of whispers behind us, ignoring the phones recording, ignoring everything except each other. In the parking lot, she pulled me to a stop. They're going to destroy us, she said. Probably. We'll both lose everything. Maybe. Was it worth it? This public disaster? Ask me again in 50 years. She laughed, breathless and terrified. You're impossible. You love it. I do. God help me. I do. 3 days later, the email from the ethics committee arrived. Back to the ethics hearing. Which brings us back to where we started, standing in front of administrators, fighting for our careers and our right to love each other. The committee deliberated for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of waiting. Of lawyers and meetings. 2 weeks of walking past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes. 2 weeks of watching Vivian hold herself together with willpower and spite. The decision came 3 days before Christmas. Vivian lost her lab directorship. Got reassigned to teaching and administrative duties. Formal reprimand in her permanent file. I was required to transfer to another lab. They found me a position at Stanford 3,000 miles away. The science paper published, but with an editorial note about potential conflicts of interest. We lost. But we didn't lose everything. 6 months later, long distance was harder than either of us expected. Video calls that never felt like enough. Visits ever. 5 years after that ethics hearing, we're still here. Married. Building careers that look different than we planned but feel more authentic. Vivian got a major NIH grant. I made associate professor. Maya got married and asked Vivian to walk her down the aisle. But we built something anyway. Because here's what I learned. Love doesn't care about appropriate. It asks you to be brave when it's easier to walk away. Vivian still works too hard. Still forgets to eat. Still argues with me about neural pathways with the passion other people reserve for religion. And I still love her. Every stubborn, intense, beautiful part of her. She asked me once, "What if I'm just too much for you?" And I spend every day showing her, "What if you're exactly enough?" Because she is. She always was. So here's my question for you. If you met someone who made you feel truly seen for the first time, but loving them meant facing judgment, risking your career, rebuilding your life, would you do it? Would you choose appropriate or the person who makes you brave? Because some love doesn't fit in boxes. Some love costs everything and gives back more. And some people, the too much ones, the complicated ones, the brilliant disasters are exactly enough. I chose her, she chose me, and we'd make the same choice every single time. That's how you know it's real.